Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now. The Cleveland Browns organization is dealing with an absolute firestorm right now, and for once, it has nothing to do with what's happening on the football field. This isn't about blown coverage in the secondary or questionable play-calling decisions. We're talking about a social media catastrophe so monumentally tone-deaf, so spectacularly misguided, that it could potentially derail a young quarterback's entire professional career before it ever really gets started. Dillon Gabriel, the Browns' backup quarterback who's already fighting tooth and nail just to maintain his roster spot, has found himself at the epicenter of a controversy that has league executives buzzing, teammates scratching their heads, and everyone throughout the organization wondering if his days in professional football might already be numbered. Here's the absolutely insane part of this whole saga. Gabriel didn't throw any back-breaking interceptions. He didn't fumble the ball away in crucial moments. He didn't blow any coverages or miss any assignments. His fiancée simply couldn't stop herself from waging all-out warfare with Browns fans on social media, and now the entire situation has spiraled completely out of control. This is the kind of drama that doesn't typically emerge from your run-of-the-mill NFL quarterback controversy. We're not discussing arm strength, completion percentages, or the ability to read complex defensive schemes. We're talking about a complete and total failure to understand how the professional sports world operates, how social media can obliterate careers in the blink of an eye, and how one person's inability to exercise restraint and good judgment can bring an entire career crashing down around them. What began as nothing more than an innocent fashion video on TikTok has somehow transformed into the biggest distraction the Cleveland Browns have faced since the franchise returned to the city. Sources inside the Browns organization are reportedly absolutely livid about the entire situation, and the ripple effects are being felt throughout every level of the franchise. Let me paint this picture for you in vivid detail, because this story is absolutely wild from beginning to end, and the implications reach far beyond just one backup quarterback and his social media savvy fiancé. The whole saga kicks off with what appeared to be the most harmless, benign content imaginable on social media. Dillon Gabriel's fiancé decides to create one of those ubiquitous get ready with me videos that influencers absolutely love posting on TikTok. You've scrolled past thousands of them if you've spent any time on social media platforms. Someone documents their entire outfit selection process, tries on different combinations, solicits opinions from their followers, shows off their fashion sense and personal style. It's completely standard influencer content that typically generates about as much legitimate controversy as a local weather forecast. So there she is, going through her wardrobe piece by piece, pulling out different potential options for attending an upcoming Browns game. We're talking brown leggings that match the team colors, a custom Browns sweatshirt that cinches fashionably at the waist, expensive Acne Studios jeans that probably cost more than most people's monthly mortgage or rent payments, leather pants for that edgy look, various hoodies and bomber jackets, earmuffs for those brutal Cleveland winter games, hunter boots that retail for hundreds of dollars. The entire video runs nearly 2 full minutes, and she's standing there with what appears to be her mother, discussing each potential ensemble like they're preparing for a high-fashion runway show in Paris or Milan, instead of attending an NFL football game in Cleveland, Ohio. It's typical influencer behavior through and through, the exact kind of content that would normally rack up a few thousand views from followers, generate some generic comments about outfit choices, and then completely disappear into the endless, never-ending scroll of social media oblivion. But then she made the critical mistake that changed absolutely everything. She added a caption that would ignite a controversy so massive, so explosive, that it's now being discussed in NFL front offices across the entire league, from coast to coast. The caption read exactly this: just 5 simple words that would set off a nuclear bomb in Browns Nation. Browns loss, what's new? Just let that statement marinate in your brain for a moment. Really absorb what was said here and who said it. The fiancé of a current Cleveland Browns player someone who's actively on the roster and cashing regular paychecks from this organization, publicly mocked the team's on-field performance. She took a direct, unmistakable shot at the franchise that's currently employing her future husband. She essentially broadcast to the entire world that losing is just standard operating procedure for the Browns, as if she's somehow completely separate and detached from the organization, instead of being intimately connected to it through her relationship with Dillon Gabriel. Now, you might be sitting there thinking this is just some frustrated girlfriend venting about her man getting benched or not receiving the playing time she believes he deserves. Maybe she's emotional about the situation. Maybe she's upset that Dillon isn't getting the opportunities she thinks his talent warrants. People say things they later regret when they're frustrated and emotional, right? That's just human nature. But here's what makes this particular situation exponentially worse than your average social media mistake or momentary lapse in judgment. Dillon Gabriel isn't some entrenched veteran with a guaranteed contract and ironclad job security. He's not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, quarterbacks who can weather absolutely any storm because their talent and track record speak volumes for themselves. Dillon Gabriel is a backup quarterback who's already fighting desperately for his professional life, who's already proven through his performance that he can't beat out the competition for the starting job, who's literally one roster cut away from being completely out of the NFL and looking for work in some other profession. The context surrounding Dillon Gabriel's current situation makes his fiancé's comments even more damaging and potentially career-threatening. This young man received 5 starts as the Browns quarterback, 5 legitimate opportunities to demonstrate to the coaching staff and front office that he deserved to be the permanent starter going forward. He received first-team repetitions in practice sessions. He was given every possible advantage and resource to succeed in his role. The coaching staff laid out explicitly and clearly exactly what they needed to see from him. They gave him the complete roadmap to earning the starting position on a permanent basis. And despite all those advantages, despite all those golden opportunities, despite having everything he needed to succeed handed to him on a silver platter, he simply didn't perform well enough to keep the job. The quarterback behind him on the depth chart, Shedeur Slander, actually earned his starting spot through demonstrably superior performance on the field. He went out there and showed everyone watching that he was the better option for the team right now, in this moment. That's not organizational politics at play. That's not favoritism toward a bigger name. That's not some grand conspiracy against Dillon Gabriel. That's professional football, operating exactly the way it's supposed to operate in a meritocracy. The best players play. Performance determines playing time and roster spots. If you receive your opportunity and don't capitalize on it, don't execute at a high enough level, the team moves on to someone who can get the job done. It's a pure meritocracy, and Dillon Gabriel lost that competition fair and square based on his performance. For his fiancée to then go on social media and essentially mock the organization for losing games, to throw shade at the team's record and performance, is beyond tone-deaf. It's borderline career suicide for someone in Dillon's precarious position. It demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding about how NFL organizations operate and how quickly promising careers can be destroyed by off-field distractions and controversies. But the story doesn't end with that controversial caption that started this whole mess. Not even close. This situation is about to get so much worse, spiraling completely out of control in ways that nobody could have predicted. Once that video started gaining serious traction on social media, once Browns fans started seeing it circulating through their feeds and commenting on what they perceived as blatant disrespect toward their beloved team, the whole thing absolutely exploded across the internet. A TikTok user named Leon James jumped into the comment section with some incredibly harsh criticism. His comment definitely crossed multiple lines, accusing her of being disgusting and openly racist, making references to Dillon getting a concussion during games, claiming that nobody in the locker room actually respects him as a player or teammate. Was Leon's comment inflammatory and completely over the top? Absolutely, without question. Was it exactly the kind of troll comment that anyone with even minimal social media experience knows you should just ignore and move past? 100%. Engaging with anonymous internet trolls never, ever ends well for anyone, especially people with public profiles connected to professional athletes. But Dillon Gabriel's fiancé made the critical mistake that so many people make on social media platforms. Instead of ignoring the troll and moving on with her day, instead of taking the high road and refusing to engage with someone clearly trying to provoke a reaction, instead of recognizing that arguing with anonymous critics on the internet never produces positive outcomes for anyone involved, she decided to fire back with a pointed response. Her response was specific and defiant, directly addressing the accusations. She wrote, "Actually, everyone in the building wants him to play, but you wouldn't know that because you've never played in the NFL or been a coach, right?" On the surface, to someone not familiar with how NFL organizations work, that might seem like a completely reasonable defense of her man. She's standing up for her fiancé against someone viciously attacking him online. She's pushing back against unfair criticism. She's defending the person she loves from internet trolls. But when you actually analyze what she said and fully understand the implications of that statement, you start to comprehend why Brown's insiders are reportedly so deeply concerned about this entire situation and where it might lead. First, and most importantly from an organizational standpoint, she's claiming to speak on behalf of the entire Cleveland Browns organization. She's making definitive, authoritative statements about what everyone in the building thinks and wants, as if she has insider access to every coach's private thoughts, every front office executive's opinions, every player's preferences about who should be starting at quarterback. That's a massive, inappropriate overstep for someone who isn't employed by the organization in any capacity, who isn't sitting in on coaching meetings and strategy sessions, who isn't part of player evaluation processes, who isn't privy to the countless conversations happening behind closed doors every single day. For her to publicly claim that everyone in the building wants Dillon to play is putting words in the mouths of coaches, executives, and players who might be absolutely furious about being represented that way without their knowledge or consent. She's speaking for people who never authorized her to speak for them, and that's creating potential internal conflicts that the organization now has to manage and address. Second, and this is absolutely crucial to understanding why this situation is so potentially damaging to Dillon's career, her statement essentially questions and undermines the coaching staff's decision-making process. Think carefully about the logic embedded in her statement for just a second. If everyone in the building really wanted Dillon Gabriel to play, if that's genuinely true, then why isn't he playing? Why is he sitting on the bench while Shedeur Slander takes every snap with the first team? Her statement, whether she consciously intended it this way or not, directly implies that the coaching staff is making the wrong decision by starting Shedeur Slander instead of her fiancé. She's inadvertently suggesting that the people running the team don't know what they're doing, that they're ignoring what everyone supposedly wants, that they're making decisions that don't align with what's objectively best for the organization. That's absolutely, positively not the kind of thing a backup quarterback's fiancé should be saying publicly about her man's employers, the people who control his career and determine whether he has a future in professional football. Third, her response demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of how NFL organizations actually operate at the highest levels. The Cleveland Browns don't make lineup decisions based on popularity contests or who players and coaches personally like more as human beings. They don't start quarterbacks because people want them to succeed on a personal level or because they're nice guys who deserve opportunities. They make decisions based on cold, hard performance metrics and statistical analysis, on what gives them the absolute best chance to win football games, on what's best for the franchise, both in the short-term immediate future and the long-term trajectory of the organization. By suggesting that everyone wants Dillon to play but he's not playing anyway, She's actually highlighting and drawing attention to the fact that there must be significant, substantial performance-based reasons why he's sitting on the bench instead of starting. She thinks she's defending him and supporting him, but she's actually drawing even more attention to his shortcomings and inadequacies as a player. She's unintentionally making the case for why he shouldn't be starting, reinforcing the coaching staff's decision rather than undermining it. This entire situation reveals something genuinely troubling about the maturity level and fundamental understanding of what it means to be part of an NFL family. When you're in a romantic relationship with a professional athlete, especially one who's in as precarious a position as Dillon Gabriel currently finds himself, you absolutely must understand that your social media presence directly affects their career trajectory. Your public statements become inextricably part of their story and narrative. Your interactions with fans, whether positive or negative, reflect directly on them and shape how the public and organization perceive them. When you're publicly criticizing the organization that signs their paychecks, when you're getting into heated arguments with fans online, when you're creating national news headlines for all the wrong reasons, you're not helping your partner succeed in their profession. You're actively, demonstrably making their job significantly harder and their career demonstrably less secure. There's a very good reason that most NFL players' wives and girlfriends maintain relatively low profiles on social media or at least scrupulously avoid making controversial statements about their partner's team. It's not because they lack strong opinions or don't care deeply and passionately about their partner's career success. It's because they understand on a fundamental level that professional football is ultimately a business, and anything that creates unnecessary distractions or makes the organization look bad publicly can have serious, lasting consequences for their partner's livelihood and future in the league. NFL teams already have more than enough on their plates with game planning, injury management, roster decisions, salary cap considerations, and everything else involved in running a billion-dollar sports franchise in the most competitive league in the world. They absolutely don't want to spend valuable time and resources managing social media controversies generated by players' significant others. They want to focus on football, on winning games, on building a championship organization. When they have to divert attention to dealing with social media drama, that's time and energy that could have been spent on actual football operations. The timing of this entire fiasco makes it even more potentially damaging for Dillon Gabriel's career prospects in the NFL. This is essentially his rookie season as a backup quarterback trying to establish himself in the league. For most players in his exact position, this represents literally their only realistic shot at making it in professional football long term. The statistics are absolutely brutal and unforgiving for quarterbacks who don't establish themselves quickly in the NFL. If Dillon doesn't show enough during the season to either secure a starting job in Cleveland or generate legitimate interest from other teams around the league looking for quarterback help, he could very realistically be out of professional football entirely within a year, forced to pursue other career options. This is precisely the time when he needs to be doing absolutely everything humanly possible to improve his standing with the organization, to demonstrate that he's coachable and professional and mature, to prove that he can be a valuable asset to the team even if he's not the starter, to show that he's constantly working to improve every aspect of his game. Instead of focusing solely on football and dedicating every ounce of energy to improving his performance and earning more playing time through his work on the practice field, Dillon Gabriel is now dealing with a national news story about his fiancé taking public shots at the Browns organization and feuding with random fans on social media. How does that help his cause in any conceivable way? How does that make the Browns more likely to keep him on the roster when they make their next round of cuts? How does that make other NFL teams more interested in potentially trading for him or signing him if he becomes available as a free agent? The answer is painfully, brutally obvious to anyone who understands how the NFL operates. It doesn't help at all, not even a little bit. If anything, it makes teams significantly less interested in bringing him into their organization because he now comes with baggage and potential drama. If she had simply stayed quiet about her frustrations, If she had kept her disappointments and concerns private, if she had supported her man without publicly criticizing his employer or engaging with trolls online, absolutely none of this would be a story generating national headlines. Dillon Gabriel would just be another backup quarterback working hard every day to improve his skills and earn more playing time through his performance. Instead, he's now nationally known as the backup quarterback whose fiancée can't control herself on social media, can't resist taking shots at his organization, can't avoid feuding with fans. That's not the reputation any young player trying to establish himself in the NFL wants or needs. The Cleveland Browns organization is facing a PR nightmare that nobody in the building wanted or asked for, all because one person couldn't exercise basic judgment and restraint on social media. The front office now has to decide how to handle this situation. Do they address it publicly and risk making it an even bigger story? Do they handle it quietly behind closed doors with Dillon and hope it blows over? Do they make an example out of this situation to send a message to other players about controlling their social media presence and their family's social media presence? These are difficult decisions with no perfect answers, and the entire mess was completely avoidable. So there you have it, the complete breakdown of how one social media post spiraled into a full-blown organizational crisis that could potentially end a young quarterback's NFL career before it ever really got started. This is a cautionary tale about the power of social media, the importance of understanding your role when you're connected to a professional athlete, and how quickly things can go sideways when people don't exercise good judgment. Whether Dillon Gabriel can recover from this distraction and salvage his NFL career remains to be seen, but one thing is absolutely certain. This situation has made his already difficult path to success exponentially harder. If you've made it this far, you're clearly as obsessed with NFL drama as we are. Smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments about whether the Browns should cut ties with Dillon Gabriel over this mess, or if his fiancée deserves a second chance. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the latest updates on this incredible story and all the other wild developments happening around the NFL. Should players be held accountable for their significant other's social media behavior? Let us know what you think. Until next time, keep it locked right here for all the biggest news, wildest stories, and most jaw-dropping developments from around the league.